Welcome, Sister Willard Reagan.
Absolutely.
We welcome you to this taping of your life, and we have 30 minutes to get the highlights of this wonderful life that you have and have shared with us. So let's begin with your beginnings, which I think was in Detroit.
If I can remember back 94 years, I was born May 10th, 1925. It was Mother's Day.
All right.
It was a Sunday afternoon, and my godfather did not show up, so my father went out on the street and got a policeman. And the policeman came in and stood in for me as my godfather. I remember his name, Gus Gumbrecht. And I was baptized in Blessed Sacrament Cathedral.
Really?
And Sister Mary Phillips said, well, it wasn't a cathedral when you were baptized. So that reduced me to my normal position. Yes.
But you have always been a classy woman, always.
Oh, really?
Really, that's my tender touch toward you.
Well,
Classy woman.
I'm from the generation, the other generation, where we did what we were told. I have lived that way, and that's why I'm here today. But I do what I'm told, and I think it produces a calming effect on the troops. I know that the 200 sisters that are over in Maria and who eat in our dining room as many desserts as they can get, they look out on everything. When I first came, I thought, these people have all taught me. I've never been taught by anybody except Adrian Dominicans.
All right, can we just go back to your beginnings? We're
Yes.
already at this time of your life.
Oh.
Now, you grew up in Detroit.
Yes.
What was your family life like and your siblings?
Oh, okay. Well, that's also colorful. At one time in my family, these people were living in my house, my mother and father's house. My father is Willard Ignatius Reagan. All Reagan boys were named after Jesuit priests.
Okay.
Everybody had and she had 7 boys, Grandma. At that time, my mother married Agnes Dixon, Dixon. She did not like the name Mary Agnes, so she was referred to as May, M-A-E, May Dixon Reagan. Dixon was her last name. All right, that's the beginning. Now, we have 5 children. Nobody, I think, knows that I had twin brothers before I was born. They died in early babyhood, so I was first. I became first.
Okay.
And I was a girl. My father, having his 6 brothers, delighted in a girl. So I have been favored my entire life. Right from start, I was regarded, now that carries with it huge responsibilities. And that brings me to the question, what do you live by? And the thing that comes to mind is to whom much is given, of him much will be respected and expected. And I'm conscious of that all the time. Great Expectations should be one of my favorite books. However, it isn't. In case you want to know.
Does the Great Expectations, does that go along with any special scripture saying or quote that you might have that's gotten you through life this far?
With that, scripture to me, I am very at home with religious topics. I certainly ought to be at this point. But I am very much at ease thinking about spiritual things. And I quote to myself periodically everything that keeps me in line. And so far it's worked, or at least I haven't really gotten into serious trouble.
Have you ever been out of line? What does keeping you in line mean versus being out of line?
Oh, I know how to be out of line. I'm sure I could learn it in 10 minutes, but I've never been that way. Oh, I forgot the rest of that household. We had originally 5 children. We had 2 grandmas. This is constant. 2 grandmas, an unmarried aunt and uncle, my mother's brother and sister until they married. My father got the whole family when he married my mother. And we had a live-in housekeeper, and there we were. That I lived in community my entire life.
That's right.
Absolutely. I never was anything exclusive or that excluded anybody. So that part of living in the convent came very easily. It's the way to be. And now the baptism, you'll notice I kept my religious name. Mary, my mother, Willard, my father, and Reagan, my father. Now we have about 6 Willards.
What was your name when you were born?
Betty, not Elizabeth. That's why I never changed it. It wasn't a saint's name. And I wasn't going through life in an order with no saint. So I kept, but anyway, it was Betty Dixon, after my mother, Betty Dixon Reagan. That's on my high school diploma, and that's the last time I saw it in print. It's been Mary Willard ever since. I idolize my father.
And it sounds like he idolized you as well, the favorite mutual. One. Yeah, okay.
But he was strict. He ran that house with all those people living there and with activities and so forth. It was smooth as silk. We ate in the dining room because we didn't fit in the kitchen. You only ate in the kitchen if you were out of line. That's how you know if you were out of line.
Did you ever eat in the kitchen?
I didn't want to miss anything, so I stayed as good as I could. After I was born, I decided I wanted a baby brother. So I said to my mother, could you get us a baby brother? And she said, well, you have to ask God. He sends babies. So I lived first near Visitation High School. And my mother walked me back and forth as a little kid. And I would go to the playground at recess and watch the kids playing out there. And the nuns, that's where I saw the nuns with the kids on the playground. And I would catch onto the fence, and I would not budge till the bell rang and they all went inside. That was my first contact. Well, then my father said he had all these people to be in charge of. He said, I better buy a house. We need the whole house. And so we've got a house, new neighborhood, halfway between Mary Grove College and Precious Blood Parish that had just been established. That priest, Father William Hermes, who later became Monsignor Hermes, was a friend of our family's. I always said, if my father were a priest, he would be like Father Hermes. If Father Hermes were a parent, he would be like my father. They were two of my favorites. Well, Precious Blood finally opened. My parents were in the first 90 families that joined.
Is that where you went to school, grade school?
It just was starting.
Okay.
And just in time for me. And so, in my autobiography, I did not tell this, that, and the other thing. What I put in there was the name of each teacher from first grade up and what I learned from her specifically. My freshman teacher was Eugenie Marie Brennan. I got my mother later to name my sister Eugenie Marie on account of that. And she was so beautiful, I thought. The second grade teacher was a postulant, but she went home at Christmas, didn't stay joined. And what she taught me was how to write on a blackboard. I was afraid to go up and write on a blackboard.
Because?
It just looked ominous. And so she let me kneel up on my desk next to the wall and write on the, so that's what she done. Margaret John was grade 3, and she taught me that in every sermon you hear in church and where one sentence is meant for you, and you have to hunt for the sentence. That kept us all like this as children. We were perfect. We're waiting for the word. Fourth grade was Sister Eloise, and she was a lady. I later found she was one of the leading parishioners at St. Edmund's Oak Park. Her father was very influential. And with her, you spoke the English language as it was meant to be spoken. In fifth grade, I had a beautiful nun, Mary Carolyn Harrison. She was just my mother. Do you know those gimps that we used to wear? My mother said, you sisters made a big mistake when you gave those up. They held up all your jowls and everybody stayed young forever. And she was gorgeous, and she was. Pink cheeks. Those nuns were perfect as far as I was concerned. The next grade 6, I had James Margaret, very masculine, took us over to the public school every Monday night to play basketball, and she taught us. We didn't have a gym or anything, and so that's where I got my athletic training.
Well, you're nice and tall, too.
Yeah, well, you had no choice.
Yeah.
If you're beyond here, you're on the team. And Then the next grade, the principal taught. Of course, we didn't waste nuns. You all worked double shift all the time. And Agnes Clare was the principal. She was tall, and you know what? She had freckles, and I had freckles. And I was freckled all across, and she was freckled. But here's how she taught me. I was in class one day, grade school. The boy behind me, whose name I remember.
He could be watching when this goes on YouTube.
He probably is, if he hasn't died of old age. Norman LeBlanc. He was dark and he was French. And he poked me in the classroom. He said, I bet you still believe in Santa Claus. I was sixth grade. And I burst out in tears because I did. Mm-hmm. I think that might be one of my strong points. I've always believed in Santa Claus. But anyway,
to this day.
But I cried so much. Sister said, go down to the 8th grade classroom and tell Sister Agnes Clare. She'll help you. Well, she taught 2 grades, 7 and 8. And here she is teaching principal, and this kid is at the door. And she came out, and she said, what's the matter? And I said, Norman LeBlanc says, I have freckles. And she said, just a minute. And she pulled up her sleeve, and she took off that cuff.
Yeah.
They had a cuff that came up, and her whole arm was full of freckles. And she said, I have freckles. Oh, well, I was cured. I was hoping they'd never leave because I was going to be just like her.
Aren't you something?
But that's how the nuns treated me. So there was no place to go but to the convent. And
so when did you decide? Now that's grade school. Where'd you go to high school?
St. Joseph Academy
How
for
did you
girls.
How did you get to the academy?
Well, same way as most of us got wherever we got. Every Friday, Sister came to our classes at grade school, and that's when it started. And she said, whose daddy is going to drive the sisters to Adrian for the weekend? And they had all kinds of meetings and all that. And so my hand always went up. We are. And she said, you ask your father. I said, he already said yes. He already said yes. I'd come home on Friday, and my father would say, where are the nuns taking us this weekend? My mother would not come because she saw what was coming down the line. And she didn't much care for that. She had plans for me. So anyway, my father brought me to Adrian every single summer from first grade on to be his companion because he was proper and didn't think he should be driving nuns unless he had a lay companion. So in the front seat is my father, me in the middle, and the principal at the side, and 3 more nuns in the back seat. Oh, heaven on earth. I had him all to myself, which is what I always wanted. My father, I had him to myself, and I had the nuns. My mother said, why are you so attracted to that place? A boarding school is where they put children of divorced parents. who have no home. You have a home. Well, that was fair enough, but I was there. The first time we went, I was first grade. It's my first trip to Adrian, first grade. And the sisters we drove told us to come up on the porch of Madden Hall to meet Mother Gerald. It was her first term in office. And I got up there and they said, this is little Betty and her daddy drove us to Adrian today. And she was a presence. She was powerful. You just knew she was going to be super. She put her hands on my head like this. I still have the dents. But anyway, she put them there and she said in her brogue, are you going to be a sister? And I said, yes, I am. Well, on the way home, my father dropped off the nuns, and he said to me, that was lovely of Sister to invite you to join their order, but just remember, the standards are very high. He never lets you get too carried away, but he watched, you know. So
okay, let's. I'm going to get to some other things. We're going to have to do a part 2 with you. I think we need to do a part 2. But anyway, so you went to high school to the academy.
Absolutely.
And then you entered.
You want to know the ad that brought me there? In
the ad? Okay.
In the Sacred Heart Messenger, that old magazine, there's a little square box, St. Joseph Academy for girls, exclusive but not expensive. Outstanding opportunities in art. Horseback riding, optional.
Really?
I'm still looking for the horse. I never found him. But anyway, I had this.
Didn't you ask where were the horses?
Every year we all asked, when is the horse? The sisters said, when it's time, he'll appear. So that's what he's going to be. It didn't come yet. I'm waiting. If you want to know why I'm lasting so long, I'm waiting for the horse. They promised me the horse. But
okay,
anyway,
well, we'll remember that.
But the academy, I think I had the choicest sister for each grade. I think Mother Gerald, that same powerhouse, put nuns at the academy who attracted the girls. And she got many recruits from that school. And I had the very, very best. And my father, who came every week to just check I was not cut off from the family, he said to me, of all the sisters you've had, I think you have flourished more under Sister Rose Loretta Whalen than any other sister. She was elegant.
That's right.
She was something. And we had myths about her. We said she was the governor's daughter. We had,
You're a shorter version, a taller version of Sister Rose Loretta. She was classy.
Marvelous. And she never had to exert herself. She just stood at the corner of the room and commanded the situation.
So in your history, you've been very influenced by tremendous people, and it's nice, you recalled their name and you're most grateful for them. Now, you also said at the beginning, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
So when you were out in your ministry, your various teaching, administration, and your prayer and presence, which you're involved in right now, how did you give that back?
Okay. it was just normal that 2 weeks after high school graduation, I entered the convent.
Okay.
My mother was bereft. She said, I had great plans for you. And I said, I know it. That's why I'm going to the convent. You know?
Did you know what the plans might have been?
It would certainly be. She was a nurse,
Okay.
a dietitian, and she had practiced at Hartford, Connecticut General Hospital. And one of the doctors on the staff was Katharine Hepburn's father. Dr. Hepburn was a great surgeon, and my mother worked with him. So she had her touch of glory there, and she couldn't imagine this in exchange for that. But anyway, I got here. I was at home. I never got homesick because I'd been here for boarding school. I knew every nun. I still know every nun. When I look at the dining room, I have taught almost every person in that room.
Wow.
When I first came, they had all taught me. But now
That's right.
that I'm in this survival mode, they are all my students, which has a mixed touch for them, because I also had quite a good memory, and I remember their finest moments and their less fine moments. And
So you know some less fun or less finer moments.
according to my standards, probably not the rest of the world.
Do you want to
But-
share any of those?
Well, first of all, being 94 years old, I have seen quite a bit.
Yes, you have.
From the first day of Mother Gerald to whatever this is. And I've seen it all, and it was my top interest. So therefore, I remember all kinds of things. And I can quote people of what they said, and they say, oh, I never did that. And I said, suit yourself. But anyway, I do remember a lot. As far as this type of thing is concerned,
You mean this interview?
this interview, I skipped this all this time. I've been on this campus now this last time 12 years over at Regina, and now this year at Maria. I liked it all. It was all, well, anything that's the order, I think is perfect, or it's on its way to being perfect. And so I've never been irritated or about what goes on or what doesn't go on. I am absolutely fitted to this life. And I had a wonderful friend in the novitiate, Sister Mary Foley, and she died of hard cancer. She suffered, and I went to see her, and I didn't want to say you're doing fine. She sure wasn't. And I said to her, Mary, you're doing a marvelous job of this. And she said, do you really think so? And I said, and she was on a striker frame. One of those, Anyway, she said, Willard, it isn't theologically sound, but I do believe God has favorites. And without a doubt, you and I are among them.
Oh.
Now that nun was suffering up to here,
Mm-hmm.
but she could say that. And and I feel inclined that way. That I like the order. I like
know you
the
do.
order,
Yes.
not just devoted and all that. I say my prayers. I do, but I always said my prayers. my mother made me.
Your mother made you, and you always did what you were told. We're going to have to bring this to
cut
a
me
close.
short.
But, you know, one thing you said, well, you said many things at the beginning, but you always were in line. You know, you did that at home, you've done that in the convent. What would it look like?
What?
What would it look like if you were out of line?
I would, my father, there is a quote.
Never mind your father.
No,
just,
but this tells that.
Okay.
He said to me one time, you know, there are whole nuns and there are half nuns. I never heard that. There are whole nuns and half nuns. And if I ever decide that you're a half, I'm going to come and get you because you will destroy the order as a half nun. In other words, put it all in there or forget about it. And I think that's probably a strong influence.
I think it is.
Yeah, because I didn't want him coming after me.
Your dear father. Well, you know, everything you've shared with us today, there's one question I always ask, is there something that we don't know about you that you'd share with us? Everything you've shared with us, I did not know that about Sister Willard Reagan.
Well,
So-
if anybody asks me anything, I usually just tell them
Like it is.
it exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people want to know that. Some people do not want to know.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I always precede it with, do you want me to really tell or not?
Okay.
Or
Well-
should I give the classic version or whatever?
Well,
Yeah.
we have to bring this to a
Yeah.
close, and I thank you tremendously. I know I've invited you to do this a couple
Oh.
times, so this was the right moment, the right time. And thank you so much for being such a wonderful influence and mentor for the rest of us. You stand out among a few of how to live the life fully and how to be with others. I have
Well, this morning they gave me a vitamin B shot before I came down here. And I said, is it going to be that hard that I'm going to need to be reinforced before I go down?
Well, thank you. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your humor. And if you have something that really you need to say more about, we'll just get you in here again.
Oh, well,
But-
I eat in the dining room, so everyone knows what I know.
Yeah, and how you think. So thank you again, Sister
Thank
Willard,
you. And
for
thank
your
you, Scott.
Scott, yes. God
Yes.
bless you.
Yes.
We are blessed to have you in our midst. And we're not going to look for that horse for a long time. So you will be with us. So thank you very much.
It will be the end of an era when it occurs.
Yeah.
Just remember. But my warning, please, get the spelling of my last name correct on my tombstone.
Okay.
Reagan, not
You spell it for us so then people will hear that. How do you spell it?
Reagan.
Yeah.
Very much, the only time it was spelled correctly was when Ronald Reagan was president. Then I got it straight.